Hey, good morning everyone out there in social media land. This is James Pesch and I am here today to answer some of your frequently asked questions. Yesterday I was at a bold networking group and guys stopped me and we spent a lot of time talking, and I realized that I needed to go through and check some of my emails and messages and see what some of the people who are tuning in are asking. So welcome this morning and I'm glad you're here. The number one question that I'm being asked most often is, what is it that I do? I am educated in neuro-linguistic programming, and my main objective is to connect people, corporations. It doesn't matter who it is, but a human factor. I want to get you connected with the outcome that you can see clearly in your mind, the goal of your company or your goals personally, whether that's to get over substance abuse, whether that's to get over a habit or a behavior, or if you need to see more success in your sales and closing in your company or corporation, if you need to see better communication interdepartmentally or things like that. That is what I do, and I use psychology and neuroscience in order to do that and to show and educate people how others, hey, good morning, Matt, good to see you this morning, and to show others how people think. The main thing that I do is education. I am a trainer. Hey, good morning, Travis, good to see you. So I come into companies and do workshops. Typically these are 1-hour events where I do demonstrations with people, show you how humans work differently, how our language patterns are all completely different from one another, and how you can use this science in order to communicate more clearly with yourself and to achieve more goals, and to communicate more clearly with others around you so that you're able to get across your point and you become more persuasive and more influential, because the images and the ideas you have in your mind are so much easier to execute. Good morning, Oscar. Good to see you this morning. Thanks for tuning in. So the second question I get asked a lot is neuro-linguistic programming fake? Because there are a lot of, actually, if you go online and you Google NLP, you're going to find more negative things about it than you are going to find positive things about it. And the reason why is because NLP is a skill that's based upon learning feedback. You're looking at another human and you learn a series of techniques and technology in order to understand how the other person is creating images and beliefs and ideas to themselves. You use that information to then get the ideas and the beliefs started that they want, or that are going to be more effective for them to see more results in their life like they want to see. So no, neuro-linguistic programming is not fake, but I will assure you that most people that set out to try to do it, to become practitioners, do not do the legwork and the intentional exercises that it takes to get really good at reading other people's faces, at hearing their linguistic frames of reference, and being able to determine whether they're a visual thinker, an auditory thinker, or a kinesthetic thinker. And the things that I teach people will rapidly be able to increase your efficacy in being able to demonstrate what areas of the brain the person is currently accessing when they're communicating. And it's super fun and super easy. I'm going to actually show you one of the things that I use to do that on the last question, question number 4. So that's question number 2. And question number 3 was, what is a pattern interrupt and when should someone use it? Okay, so a pattern interrupt is when someone begins talking about the thing that is making them sad. If they have something that's depressing them, a substance or a habit, whenever they begin to think about it and talk about it, and they begin to visualize what it feels like to be in that state of either depression or anxiety, they begin to have a feeling. What I like to do is create a pattern interrupt right then. And normally it's something as simple as, hey, which one of these is your favorite color out of these, so that I can start writing down. Just pick your favorite color. Now what happens is when they stop thinking about whatever it is they were thinking about, and then they start looking at the colors and they think favorite color. This generates a different chemical response. So in the brain, something else happens. They get asked a question. They now have to generate their favorite something. It's very hard to generate your favorite something when you're thinking about the thing that's making you sad and depressed. So that's called a pattern interrupt, and it's an easy one. I use it all the time when I'm working one-on-one with people. However, I have seen drastic ones. One that I've seen is like when somebody's getting caught up in that depression, in that mental state, and they start putting themselves into a feedback loop of those emotions. I've seen somebody throw water on somebody before, and it interrupts that pattern, and then just go, hey, if this problem is so bad, a little bit of water shouldn't bother you. Please continue to talk. I'm sorry that I interrupted you. Go ahead and continue. And after a few minutes of this, it becomes impossible for that person to continue in that pattern of depression. Every time they go to do it, they interrupt. The brain gets interrupted by what else is going to happen. Now, I can demonstrate why this works. It's based off of conditioning and a stimulus response mechanism. It was demonstrated very well in Pavlov's dog in that experiment. But that is what a pattern interrupt is. It's when somebody is stuck in a pattern, an emotional pattern, and you interrupt it with something non-related that gets a different emotion going, something that's completely unrelated. And I can teach you a few of those whenever you come to the workshops. They're super simple, and they're merely designed to get the person to stop being stuck in that rut, okay? Number 4, what are eye-accessing cues, and how do you learn to read them? If you want to do a basic Google search, you can Google the 8 basic human emotions, and this is a list: fear, anger, sadness, joy, disgust, surprise, trust, anticipation. I do like the lists that have envy or jealousy on them as well, but what you do is you get a group of 3 people, or you know, it doesn't have to be 3. I actually used to practice this with just 2 of us. But you take this list and you have one person demonstrate one of the emotions on this sheet of paper. Whenever that person demonstrates that emotion, the other person that also has a list looks at the list and guesses which emotion. Do this for about 10 minutes a day, and you will start to get good at reading the emotions on other people's faces. And this is an exercise in empathy and comprehending biofeedback. You want to practice with more than one person because you want to get good at reading how this looks on a bunch of different people's faces. This is how you get good at reading micro-expressions in general. This isn't necessarily eye-accessing cues, but this is micro-expressions in general. If you want to get good at just reading eye-accessing cues, you want to go on over to my website and send me an email. I will send you a visual, auditory, and kinesthetic representational test. It's 5 questions, and anybody who takes that test, hey, good morning, Beth, good to see you. Anybody who takes that test will be able to quickly determine which type of thinker they are, whether they're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. And kinesthetic just means feeling, and that's whether you're like rubbing on something smooth or something rough, that type of feeling, or whether you're feeling emotionally happy, sad. Both of those types of feelings are administered to our brain in the same place, in the same limbic system area, okay? So when you're starting to access eye-accessing cues, you're trying to determine when that person is thinking visually, where do their eyes go? When that person is thinking auditory, where do their eyes go? And when that person is thinking kinesthetically, where do their eyes go? Now, you have to get really good at knowing the language of visual people. Now, these are the linguistic frames of reference for visual people. What does that look like to you? Do you see what I'm saying? If I were to map this out and diagram it for you, how would that look? Those are all visual words. And whenever I'm asking visual questions like, what color shirt did you wear yesterday? I am monitoring their eyes to see where their eyes go when we're speaking visually. An auditory series of linguistic frames of references. How does this sound to you? Does this sound like it is making sense? If you were to hear this in your way, how would this sound to you? And is that resonating with you? Can you hear what I'm saying, or does that sound right? All of those are auditory words, and if you're an auditory thinker, you probably just perked right up. Now, feelers are the most fun because feelers are going to go from drastic highs and lows, but you can see it really easily. And the eye-accessing cues are super simple. So, do you guys? How does this feel to you? Does this feel like it's making sense? What's your gut telling you? If you were to check your instinct, what would your gut say? Are you guys starting to sense what it is that I'm saying? All of these are feeler words, okay? If you're a feeler, you probably just perked right up. So these are different ways of accessing those eye-accessing cues. Is you can learn how to ask questions about those feelings, about those sights, and about those sounds. And if you get good at being able to read where people's eyes go whenever you're asking these types of questions, having these types of conversations, you can get really good at knowing what part of the brain someone is accessing while they're trying to communicate to you, whether that's visually, auditory, or kinesthetically. Guys, I hope that this has been helpful in answering your questions. If you have any more questions, please reach out to me. I am happy to answer them. I love this type of stuff. And these are all designed to enable you to be your own hero, get a little more control in your life, understand what those around you are thinking and what they're how they're trying to communicate, and be more effective in doing a better job of reaching more people with your message. Guys, I really appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful weekend and a happy Friday, and reach out to me because that's what people are doing every day to have me teach people like you better ways of communication and dealing with your reality. I appreciate it, guys. Have a wonderful day.